She inherited the house from an aunt she barely remembered. The attic was full of trunks and linens smelling of lavender. Among the trunks, a sewing basket sat open with needles threaded and a small pile of embroidered squares names stitched letter by letter. Her aunt's handiwork, she thought, until she found one square with her own name, stitched in a child's uncertain hand. At night, the attic hummed with the sound of small hands knitting. She climbed the stairs to find the basket moved, the squares rearranged into new patterns. The names stitched there were not always names the house recognized. Some were nicknames she had never spoken aloud. Others were the names of strangers she'd once looked at with pity. Each square carried an embroidery of a face underneath the letters. When she unpinned one square to look at it closely, the face stitched beneath the letters shifted. The mouth would tremble, the eyes would narrow, and a quiet sound like a child's breath escaped the thread. Nights later, she woke with the feeling of being watched by little eyes pressed from the other side of fabric. She began to find tiny handprints in dusty places. On the back of picture frames, on the inside of cupboard doors, around the collars of shirts. They were not small prints left by children in the house, but perfect imprints of palms of other people's hands, countless, layered like tree rings. The squares multiplied. The attic taught her a craft. It stitched memories into cloth and then asked for payment. For each square she carried downstairs to show, a small memory unstitched itself from her mind. She forgot the name of a childhood friend. She could not remember the smell of her father's aftershave. A joke she had told at a funeral evaporated from her mouth, leaving only a hollow laugh. Each loss accompanied the discovery of a new square, bearing the precise face of the thing she'd misplaced. Then, one stormy night, while she sorted through boxes, a sound started. Little footsteps moving just below the attic floor. At first she thought the house settling, then she heard whispering threads being pulled through, fabricand a chorus of small voices murmuring names like a prayer. The names were her neighbors, her colleagues, people from the grocery store. Each whispered name creased the air and folded like a page. She realized the squares were not merely recordings. They were invitations. The attic gathered names and stitched them into a tapestry of remembered faces. But when the house wanted to keep a memory, it sent down a small hand to lift a name from someone's mouth and stitch it again higher, to a place where it would hang like a flag. People began to behave strangely. An old neighbor who used to hum under her breath stopped singing and started knitting the way the attic did, hands moving with the same patternless grace. A child she once babysat could no longer say his own name without a pause, as if some stitch had knotted it wrong. Late one evening, she returned to the attic to retrieve a square stitched with a name she had finally remembered, her late aunt's childhood nickname. The square was warm. She folded it to press against her chest and felt a pressure drop away from her mind, like someone pulling at a string. She had lost the memory of a small, crucial kindness her aunt once gave her, a moment that had housed a reason she visited the house. The patch on the attic floor was new. It bore her own initials. The attic never takes everything. It takes what makes you return. It keeps the small hands you are willing to trade. In exchange, it gives back sewn faces that only a visitor could own. If you inherit a house with a soft roof and a seam of attic light, check the corners before you sleep. Small hands stitch quickly, and the stitches can outlast a lifetime.